Hi everyone, this is Deacon Paul and this is the Gospel Reflection for Monday, March 30th. And our Gospel today, again, is from the Gospel of John, and today we're in chapter 8, verses 1 to 11. Again, John chapter 8, verses 1 to 11. And this is the well-known story of the woman caught in adultery. And the climax, we'll call it, of this story occurs when Jesus turns the tables on the woman's accusers, and he says to them, "Let he who is without sin, or he who is guiltless, cast the first stone." And of course, none of them cast a stone, because in that moment, they recognize that they too are not perfect, that they too have sinned. And that's true of all of us, because we're all a mixture of light and dark, good and bad, saint and sinner. But what we tend to do, especially with people that we don't like, is we label them, we judge them, and we identify them by their dark side and by the worst that they have done, rather than by the best of who they are. And I'm reminded of back in high school, we were about 15 or 16, and there was one of my friends who was caught shoplifting, and he was charged with shoplifting. And after that time, one of my other friend's mothers continually, for a period of several years, referred to that guy as the thief. So in that one moment, he became identified and labeled as the thief, ignoring everything else about him and all the other qualities and attributes that he has. And that's what we often do. We label people, we identify people, and we judge them by their worst. You know, in psychology, there's a term called projection, where the idea is that, that within ourselves that we deny or are blind to or unaware of, we project outside of us, and we see it in the world around us, and we see it in the people out there. You know, it's that whole idea, when you point the finger at someone else, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. But we don't see those 3 fingers pointing back at us. So in this Lenten journey of seeking to open our hearts and welcome the Sacred Heart presence within us, one of the things to open our hearts to is to ourselves, and recognizing that just like the scribes and Pharisees in today's reading, we too are a mixture of light and dark, of saint and sinner. And I think an important question for us today to reflect on, spend some time in prayer with, is, what is the dark in me that I refuse to see or acknowledge or admit? And this is not an exercise in beating ourselves up. It's an exercise of bringing that into the light, because it's only then that we can do what Jesus says to the woman, which is, from now on, sin no more. We can only sin no more when we become aware of things and understand those things, rather than try to suppress them and hide them and shy away from them and not deal with them. So invite you today to spend a little bit of time in prayer with that question of, so what is it in me that I refuse to see or resist looking at, or just don't want to come to terms with? And bring that to Jesus today in the way that the woman caught in adultery did.